Advanced healthcare directives. This is also a cornerstone of an estate plan. All clients must consider the benefits of having an advanced healthcare directive in the event they themselves become incapacitated, for example, with dementia, Alzheimer's, a stroke, an accident, and they're paralyzed, allowing them to designate who will act on their behalf, medically speaking, for their medical decisions. If there is a medical emergency, whether it's at home or with an ambulance or at the hospital, allowing, again, their agent to make decisions, medically speaking, for them. So this starts off with, of course, the informational menu, which I strongly recommend you read the menu. If you need more information, answer this question. This is a required field. You have to mark no if you don't want any detailed explanation of the Advanced Healthcare Directive in order to move through the next page. It's a required field. So if you select yes, a really detailed menu explanation pops up, which again, I strongly recommend you read it if you're not familiar with what an Advanced Healthcare Directive is and how it works. At the very end of that, you have the in-depth video tip explanation. And you also can see examples of healthcare directive scenarios. You have 3 scenarios that you can read up on. Again, read those. They're very helpful in demonstrating how you would put, or a client would put, an advanced healthcare directive into action for them, and how it would work for them, with specific examples of scenarios that play out all the time. And of course, for the married or couples questionnaire or option, when there's a couple involved, you're going to see this option here, or this menu explaining how we designate healthcare directive agents for couples. The default, again, like the durable power of attorney, the default is to name the other spouse or the other partner as the primary agent for the husband. For example, the wife is automatically designated as the husband's agent, and vice versa, husband for the wife. And that's why this is automatically defaulted to yes. So if that's how the client wants this, or the couple wants this, then leave it that way. If not, they select no, and then they have other options. 95, I'd say closer to 98% of all my clients, unless they're very old clients, one of them is already disabled, then they would select no, because the healthier of the couple would likely not want the disabled spouse to be their primary agent. So they would select no. But otherwise, it's always going to be yes for the most part, 98% of the time. And again, this Explain Advanced Healthcare Directive video is the same as this video here. Okay, and you will see a link here that says page tutorial, which is this exact video that you're watching right now. So assuming that the couple wants their significant other to be their primary agent, you leave this as yes. And now it's time to select, or help them select, their backup agents. So if they want the backup agents after each spouse, let's say one spouse is no longer around and the other spouse, the surviving spouse, becomes incapacitated, then who's the backup to that other spouse who passed away? And if they want them to be the same successor trustees that they already designated earlier in this interview as their healthcare agents, you'd select yes. And at that point, it's pretty simple from here on out. Not much else to do other than fill out the rest of this part here, and you're almost done. Appropriate end-of-life decisions and options. Explained end-of-life decisions. Show a quick explanation. You have the menu that explains in written format, and this little video is the same video here. And assuming you already understand how end-of-life decisions work, then you answer these questions here. End-of-life decision, end-of-life and after-death options for husband and wife. If both spouses do not want artificial life support permanent, okay, permanent artificial life support. This only applies to the worst case scenario. So you'd have to explain to your clients that way, that artificial life support is permanent in this setting for this set of questions. Not a potential for coming back, or your mind still has, the brain still has activity. No, this is when the brain is permanently dead, and with today's technology and equipment and sophistication, they are able to determine whether someone is permanently, irreversibly brain dead. And in that scenario, do they want to die naturally, the right to die, no life support? So if both spouses want that option, no life support, this option here. If only the husband wants no life support in that scenario, wife, or if both spouses want to prolong their life and stay on permanent life support, even though they are permanently brain dead, it's that option there. Other options to consider: whether or not the husband or the wife want autopsies, or wish to donate their organs. Autopsy, the way I explain that is you're giving the right to your healthcare agents designated in your healthcare directive to order an autopsy if your healthcare agents, which are usually the client's children named as their primary and backup agents, the right to make that decision if the healthcare agents feel it's necessary. Okay, then you're letting them make that decision. And if they do want that, you do not select those options. Okay, if they want organ donation, do not select the option. All right. So these are only if they do not want autopsy and they do not want organ donation. They select. Sorry, let me rephrase that. So if they do not want an autopsy or do not want organ donations, they select these. If they are okay with autopsy and they are okay with organ donation, they want to donate organs and they want an autopsy, or they want their agents to make that decision, you leave them blank. Okay. Hit next, and then you're taken to the page that confirms that we are using the same successor trustees as listed earlier in the trust for both spouses as the advanced healthcare agents. Okay. Now, let's say the clients don't want to use the same successor trustees as their backup, their alternate successor agents. Select no here. And if they want these other individuals who are not the trustees to be the same alternate and backup alternate for both spouses, leave it as yes. And let's say they want a successor and an alternate successor, you'd select that option there. And then whether or not they want a total of 2 backup agents after the primary, which the primaries are the spouses. Remember, each spouse is already, or each partner is already acting as the primary with this option here. Then there's 2 backups. It'll be this option here after the initial spouse or the initial partner. If it's 3, then it'll be this option here. 1 successor agent after the husband or wife plus 2 more. So let's just say it's 1 plus 1, which is this option here. And let's just not show that. They hit next, and then it gives them the option, gives you the option to select or enter who that backup agent is for both the husband and wife after the husband and wife are the initial spouse, the initial primary agents, who the successor is for both, and who the backup successor is for both. Okay, for husband and wife. Very key right there. Using same AHCD agents for both spouses. It's very similar to how the power of attorney form works. Very, very similar. And of course, if they've got co-agents, they want them to act together. They want the backups to act together. Then it's going to be the first successor co-agent and the second successor co-agent. They're working together. They're not working in successive order where there's a primary and a backup. These are working together. Again, like I explained before, not really a great idea if one of the co-agents is no longer available, or is not available, or is in a disagreement to actually work together with the other co-agent. Then there'll be some problems. So usually it's not a good idea unless the clients really know those co-agents very, very well and know their family dynamics or relational dynamics very well. And of course, if they decided to go with one successor agent plus two alternate agents and co-agents, then there's going to be further options to select how those co-agents will work amongst those three. Okay, there'll be a total of three backup agents, a successor and two alternates. Again, after the initial spouse as the primary agent. In this scenario here, where you have one plus two alternate agents, you select whether or not the first will be the successor and then the remaining two will be co-agents. The first two will be co-agents and the third will be an alternate successor to back up one of the co-agents if one of the co-agents aren't around, or all three will be acting together as co-agents, which in my opinion is just more potential for chaos. Not really a good idea. I would recommend you Google that concept or run it through ChatGPT, that concept of co-agents for advanced healthcare directive agents or durable power of attorney agents in California, and what the potential negative consequences of that could be. Check it out with ChatGPT. You'll be pretty impressed with the response. So you've got that. Let's say, for example, they wanted the first agent to be the successor agent and then the remaining two co-agents after the successor agent. And you get the appropriate answers, options here to enter the successor and then the two co-agents, first co-agent, second co-agent, name, relationship, address, and phone number. So that pretty much demonstrates how this works. You can play around with this and you'll see how the different fields will pop up depending on the option chosen. Now, again, like the durable power of attorney form, if the backup agents, again, are not the successor trustees of the trust, and we still have, again, the husband and wife or the partners as each other's primary backup, primary spouse, primary agent, and then the successors are not going to be the trustees of the trust, then if they choose no for use same successor AHCD agents for both spouses, then each, when you go to the next set of fields, each spouse or partner will have their own successor backup agents. Won't be using the same ones for both husband and wife or partners. Okay, so let me show you that real quick. Let's say 1 + 1, no co-agents in this example. Hit next. Advanced Healthcare Directive agents, husband, primary backup agent, wife, primary backup agent. Okay, that pretty much should give you an idea of how that would work. And so let's go back here and let's say they enter all that information, and that would be the end of that little demonstration.